Welcome to another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Dr. Joe Hamlett, and along the other side of the screen is Dr. Dave Peltz. So how are you doing today, Dr. Dave Peltz?
Most fantastic there, Dr. Joe Hamlett.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, we want to welcome you all back, or if this is your first time listening or tuning into the episode, thanks for your support, or thanks for you that are brand new to this. With that, like most of you know, the way we do this is one of us introduces the topic and then the other one gets us started. So today's topic is staying in control. So, Dr. Dave, what are your thoughts on staying in control?
I think you should always stay in control.
Well, you got us off to a
That's a
good
good
start.
start. uh, yeah, staying in control. That's a good topic to run with today. We were talking just before we started the episode, and there's lots of pieces that that really fall into this. I think one of the ones I want to start off with is one of the core lessons we were taught in the military, and that was whenever there's a contingency or a stressful situation, your best asset is to remain calm and stay in control because
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting. It sounds like, well, how can you stay calm and in control? When you train your mind to do that, it almost slows things down so you can make better decisions. And so that I think is one of the most crucial things is just staying calm, and that will help you stay in control. And that's important, on a personal side and professional side. If things get stressful at work, just stay calm, breathe, step away for 5 or 10 minutes, clear your mind, come back and reassess the situation. There might have been something that you overlooked, or it might all of a sudden come to you, which is not a bad thing. Sometimes it's just you get so wrapped up into things that you lose that control and that focus.
right, right,
So it's important to take those breaks so you can keep a good mindset and a clear mindset, because that's really important. When you start stressing out over a printer jam and a paper cut and thinking it's the end of the world and you're going to get fired, you've lost control. You
right,
really need
right,
to assess the significance of it. I mean, very few companies are going to crumble, or very few jobs are going to be lost within a 5-minute period because of a paper jam or paper cut, so,
right,
or printer jam and paper cut. So, we really have to put things into perspective when we talk about staying calm, because that's really what it is. It's understanding the environment, having the correct perspective, really assessing it for what it is, and not over exaggerating it. And and conversely, when things are great, you don't want to over celebrate do your end zone dance in front of all your peers. I got the promotion, I got the pay raise, and all that, because
right,
it can
right.
come across as arrogant,
Yeah,
and then that can also create some additional stressful situations, or situations that
right,
you might need
right.
to be remaining calm in. So and staying in control. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a simple concept, but there's really a lot that goes into it when you start unraveling it. So I'll pause for a moment.
Okay. Yeah, I want to go back to you when you said, staying calm and in control, and it almost gives you that opportunity to slow down and see things, figure it out. And when you said that, what really came to mind was almost like the Matrix,
Mm.
when Neo is, they're shooting bullets and he's doing this slow
Yeah.
motion thing, and that's what I think of, that
Yeah.
you are able to dodge things because you can see it. But that's kind of the mindset I think of when you talked about, being under control, and it almost gives you time to really think about it. And it really does. And not really to that effect,
Yeah.
but
Don't stand in
it,
front of any bullets and test that theory, folks.
right,
Not recommended, for entertainment purposes only.
right. But just the idea of that, that you're in such control in a situation that you really can think about things and map it out, even give you time to say, well, I think that, no, that won't work. And then you try something different in your head, or even if you write it down. But I think that's what staying in control gives you, that ability to do. It really gives you the ability to really logically think about your reaction, your response to something. Because if you don't have that, and something happens, like you say, the printer jam, that if you don't stay under control, you may start yanking things apart, yank doors open, and all this, because you think this report has to be done, in it does have to be done in timely manner, but you take it to the extreme to where
Yeah.
you lose control, and that's all that matters. And like you said, nobody's probably going to get fired over not hitting a deadline or they're 5 minutes late with
Mhm.
the report, because the other side of that, if you do kind of go down that path of, okay, I'm going to fix it, or you may do more damage and now you've lost more time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like the way you said that, that it gives you that time to really evaluate your situation, and then take the time to respond appropriately.
Mhm.
Then I also like the idea that you talked about. We all often think of control is, again, something that happens to us, and we have to restrain. We don't want to fly off the handle, those types of things. But the way you put it, also, when in a celebratory manner, if you get the promotion, or if you awarded something, and you want to flash and show everybody and show
Mhm.
off. But yeah, the reality of that is, how is that going to affect your peers, or
Mhm.
where, whatever, organization or whatever venue you're in. It could be at home. So yeah, that's,
Yeah,
again,
that's
showing it.
that self-control piece when you're
Right.
staying in
Yeah,
control. I mean, you can
exactly.
celebrate and be happy and put it out there, but don't overdo it, you know.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and conversely, if you're on the receiving end of that and you see someone getting a promotion and they're celebrating, don't be the sore loser on it,
Right.
be
Yeah.
happy for them, because
Yeah.
if not, people will see that, and that can affect you, and again create additional stressful situations to create those opportunities for you to remain in control and practice
Right.
that
Yeah.
skill. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it's a balance. It really is. It's how do you celebrate or take bad news and express it without falling apart or overdoing it.
Right.
So
No, that's a good approach. Absolutely. Yeah. The more we can stay in control, the more we also control the outcome.
uh,
Um, so we've talked a little bit about, celebration, or responses to something that doesn't go your way. But what about if you don't maintain control of who you are,
mhm,
your position? Then what's likely to happen? Someone
yeah.
else is going to step in, take control of it, and then you're going to be left with whatever they choose for you.
Yeah, I
So
would liken that to driving on an icy road and then hitting a patch of black ice, and then just because you're going too fast, you're just spinning out of control.
out of
And how do
control.
you
Yeah.
regain that control
Yeah.
once you've lost it? And sometimes, like on black ice, it's very, very difficult to
Yeah.
regain it because you don't see the ice on the road because
Right.
it blends in so much. And that's part of that clarity piece that we're talking about. It's like, when you see snow, you see the white on the road. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I can see that. I know to slow down. But sometimes you don't see it and it's invisible, and you're just going so fast because you're not paying attention, because you've actually released or relinquished some of your control either to the
Right.
situation, or in the hype or the celebration or in the angst of the situation. And you it's like it's starting to evaporate a little bit, and it's starting to get a little foggy on the outside instead of having that clarity. And that's really what we need to do. Just you can go fast, but just stay in control of that vehicle.
Well, Dave, you mentioned that, and that actually happened to me when I was a very young driver. So I'm getting off on a two lane exit. Again, this is many years ago up in Indiana, northern Indiana, where it gets cold in the winter, and you have a lot of black ice. And so I'm exiting this um, 2 lane exit ramp, and there was black ice, and I didn't see it. I did exactly what you said. I'm coming off the ramp. I actually did a 360
Mm,
on the exit ramp, and fortunate enough, I realigned at the top of the ramp and stopped
mm,
at the top of the ramp. But to your point, I was going too fast. I was out of control. Fortunate for me that there was no damage. I didn't hit
mm,
anybody or anything happened. But again, that's one experience I'll never forget. Just as you said, I was out of control for that brief moment, not sure where I was going to end up. So
mhm.
that literally happened to me.
Wow.
But again, I was fortunate enough for it to realign, and
Right.
I almost did a double take. Like, did that just happen?
Right.
and it did just happen. So I've
And
definitely
it's interesting that you
experienced
say
that.
that, because my experience with black ice was actually, I mean, the opposite, which prevented me from going too fast in the future. But I was going too slow in a parking lot when I was overseas on a base, and we were in a parking lot, and I saw one car slide, and we were literally doing like 2 miles an hour, just take it real
Right,
careful. And then
right.
all of a sudden, the car slipped, and then three other cars slipped, and we were all just like crunch, 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 crunch. So it's
Oh
almost like
wow.
sometimes you can be going too slow because there's too much going on. And I liken that to something like with some of the earlier technology with Betamax. They were going, they went a little bit too slow, and they weren't quite
Right.
going fast enough, and they lost their traction.
Yeah.
And so you can lose traction to someone else who's a little bit more focused, going a little bit quicker. And it's not
Right.
saying putting caution to the wind and just going for it, but again, be aware of your surroundings, because you can go too slow and miss out on an opportunity for a
Right.
promotion.
Right.
You can say, well, I'm going to wait to take that last class to get that certification, or wait that extra 2 weeks, because for whatever reason, and someone else gets their certification done before you, or they get that
Right.
application in 2 weeks before you, and you miss the deadline. Or
Yeah.
so you can go too slow and miss opportunities. So when we talk about staying in control, that's what it's about. It's staying in control, understanding your surroundings. Do you need to speed up? Do you need to slow down? Do you need to maintain your course? And as we've said so many times, do you need to make another turn or an adjustment to get
Right.
back
Yep.
and to stay in control? There's lots of stories out there that you can read about in different types of situations where people have lost control in very positive environments. You know, you look at some of the professional entertainers and athletes, I mean, and musicians. I mean, they've gotten so successful so quick sometimes, or maybe it's been a while, and they suffer the consequences because they lose that focus, and they wind up taking a very dark path, and it takes them a while to recover.
Right.
And it's a life-changing event. And that's what we don't want people, what we don't want our what we don't want to happen to our listeners, is to lose that control.
Right.
So
No,
yeah.
no, I like the way you put it early on, where you said, being aware of your surroundings. Again, for us being in the military, that was one of the things that we learned. We heard
Mhm.
often, just because, again, the environments sometimes we were put in, that became a norm for us.
Yeah.
But so
You
you're
can't
right that
control the environment, so you have to control yourself.
right, absolutely, and be aware of those things that are around you. And again, the more data you have, the better equipped you are going to be
Hmm.
to stay in control. So,
Hmm.
today's point, that's what we're trying to say is, again, like he just said, you can't control everything, but those things that you can control, make sure you keep a hold on them.
Hmm.
Don't allow someone else or something else to dictate,
Hmm.
or take away your control or
Hmm.
minimize your control. I know we just did an episode on power, or holding on to your power, and this is very similar to that in reference to not giving things away that are
Hmm.
yours, that belong to you. And so
Hmm.
again, you allow other people to take it from you, whether it's power or control, then you're going to be left up to whatever they deem that you deserve.
Hmm.
And that's not what we want. All these episodes we talk about, it is really about you, managing your career, managing
Hmm.
your life. And you do that by holding on to as much of those things as you can.
Yeah.
Of course, there's situations where you may have to release the reins a little bit just to fit in, or
Hmm.
to, adapt. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's still you. And
Yeah.
so, if you release your control, give up your power, um, then again, you're going to be left with whatever someone else sees fit for you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the going too fast, because it's just, my mind's been kind of going about that, and it reminded me when you were talking about going off on the ice and going too fast, and we were talking about going too fast. You can go very, very fast and be very, very focused, but you can also lose sight of the little things
Well, Dave,
that should be
just before,
important.
like where you're going, but and I did mention this when I talked about that
Hmm.
incident, was the ramp. Again, it was a fresh snow,
Hmm.
and so there was snow, but I couldn't see the black ice.
Hmm.
So I just want to make that point, because it wasn't just that I saw, it looks clear. No, I
Yeah.
couldn't see the ice, and I
Yeah.
think that's kind of where you're going.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't see those
Yeah.
things,
Or you forget to, or you
or
just you
or you
start
just don't
thinking, well,
pay
I don't need to
attention.
pay attention to them
Right,
anymore
exactly.
because I've got this. And I
Right.
remember in my youth I was pretty good at skateboarding. I wasn't an expert, but I could hold my own. And I
Right.
remember we were coming down this very steep grade on this hill, just cruising along on our skateboards, and we're like, we've got this, we've done this before, and we're about three-quarters of the way down. We're at like terminal velocity type
Right.
thing. And there's a rock about the size of, I don't know, probably a grain of salt or something small. It was bigger than that. It was a small pebble. And
Right.
talk about coming to a screeching halt. Well, the board did, but I didn't. I just kept going.
Right.
And there
Oh,
was a lot of road rash because it was in the summer. We're not wearing our shirts, we're in shorts. And because we were really smart, we were in flip flops.
right.
Not a good
Oh
sight to see a
man.
couple of guys just eat it, just going down this hill. And it was a big hill. So, again, when you're cruising along and you think you've got this and you're in control,
Yeah.
remember those little things can make a big difference. Don't disregard those little things. It's not that you don't see it. It's sometimes you get overconfident. Sometimes you're like, oh, I've got
E-
this, and
Exactly. I was that reminded me a very similar story, but it was on skis.
oof, yeah,
Right.
ouch.
Yeah. Very similar. And again, not paying attention to the elements or things
Mhm.
around me. A couple of friends, we were trying to get in like the last snow day of the year. I think it literally was the last snow
Mm,
day. And it was in April in California in the mountains, and it was a nice day. I bet it was 60, 70 degrees outside,
mm.
right? And so during the
You were in your
day,
you were in a tank top and shorts and flip
you know
flops, right?
what? I was actually we actually were wearing our bunny suits, our
Uh,
full snow bunny suits, but we had t-shirts on and then just had them tied around our waist.
wow.
That's how nice it was going down the slope. Well, to your point, same thing. I was overconfident because what the game
Mhm.
we were playing was, and we had played, all season, was if you fall, whoever was closest to you would, get some speed and then throw a snow, face throw a face full of snow at you, with your skis, but jump stuff, and like I say, it had been so hot that the snow was melting and it was
Mm,
turning to slush.
wow.
Yeah, and so I did this because I'd
AKA
been
ice.
ice, yeah, and it just got really solid, and so I do this thing. I'm gonna get them. They've been getting me all season, all day, and so I give myself some speed, poke the pokers in the snow, and they're trying to create some momentum. Get down there, get right in front of him because he's down, and I go to jump and jam, my skis into the snow to hit him, and kind of like you, my skis went sideways, but I kept going straight
Wow.
right over my skis, and I actually broke my ankle doing that.
Oh, dang, dude.
Yeah, so as much as we think we're in control,
Yeah.
again, to your point, I was got overconfident, got arrogant about I'm going to control this situation, and
Mhm.
ultimately, I had to be drugged down the mountain slope in the toboggan thing that they wrap you in, to get me down to safety. So,
I can imagine
uh,
there's a little bit of road rash with that being just in a
a
t-shirt.
little bit, yeah. It ripped my pants.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was not the experience that I was hoping for, and then my friends were mad because it was early in the evening. Actually, it was still sun out, and we were done for the day. And so
Yeah.
we had paid, and now I get to ride home in an ambulance or
Mm,
to the hospital. So yeah, it didn't turn out. I definitely lost control.
yeah.
To a point, I controlled the situation, let it get out of hand, and then I was no longer in control. Now
We got to
I'm at the
remember that just because we're going fast and our friends or colleagues or peers are going fast doesn't mean we have to keep up with them,
absolutely,
because they
yeah,
might be their skill level might be better. They
yep,
might be more aware. And
yep,
us, if we get too competitive, little things like that can literally trip us up and change the course of things.
absolutely,
And so just because someone else is flying by you doesn't mean you have to say, oh, I'm going to beat them to it. you have to stay within your skill level, and
Absolutely.
push your limits, but push it within reason. And that's part of that control, staying in control, and just building your skill level. Because if you take a leap too fast, like, I would like to think I'm a good driver, but I'm not going to enter a Formula One race.
Right, right,
It's like,
right,
I'm not, I know I'm not there. It would be fun
right,
to
right,
try to, but I'm pretty sure I'd be passed and come in last place 3 days
right.
later. So
Now, Dave, you bring up a very, very good point, and I think it's staying in your own lane. In reference to the cars, but also
right.
uh, not compare. And we've said this many times on our episodes: not comparing yourself to someone else,
Yeah,
and trying to run the race that they're in.
yeah,
Again, not knowing the things that they're facing, the things that they don't have control of, but you think they do. So
yeah.
that's a
And
very
how many
good
times in
point.
our career have we seen people pass us only to crash and burn shortly there
Absolutely.
afterwards?
Yep.
And it really is a wake up call, and not crash and
Right.
burn literally, figuratively, of course, but they're going so fast and they look great doing it, and everything looks like in control. Then they get that position or that pay raise or promotion or that opportunity, only to fumble and fall because it was
Yep.
outside of their skill set.
Right.
They were overconfident,
Yep.
and that's on the backside. So, when we talk about staying in control, there's a lot of pieces to this, and the emotions is a big piece of it. You got to keep your emotions in check a lot of times. Not saying don't express them, but just keep them in check, because, sometimes we get caught up in our emotions, that euphoria, that job offer high, if you will, or whatever, that
Right.
promotion high. And it's like, wow, this is coming, this is great. Stay calm, read the fine print, read it over a couple of
Right.
times,
Yep.
and same when things hit the fan, the proverbial poo hitting the fan. It's like, reassess the situation. Is it really that tragic? What
Right.
can you do to overcome it? If it is that bad, what can you do to overcome the situation? Who do you reach out to? Who do you not reach out to?
Right.
Where's your support network? We've talked a lot about having a good support network in many of our episodes. And that's why, when positive or negative outcomes or situations, you got to stay in control, because sometimes that's going to be the only thing that gets you through it, is your self-control and staying in control of yourself. You know,
Right.
you can talk about injuries and stuff, and it's like, yeah, we've all been, most people have had, well, I shouldn't say most, some people have had bad injuries or incidents in their life. And it's like, wow, that's bad. I don't want to go through that again. But what if you do have to go through it again? That self-control, staying in control, that mindset of remembering what you went through and how you got through it is going to get you through even better the next time. Same
Right.
thing at
Right.
work or with a personal relationship or whatever. You know, remember how you got through it the last time and use that as a basis to do better the next time.
Yep. Yeah. Because I want to go back to what you said early on, about, again, I would do that matrix reference, about really taking the time to evaluate the situation. How can I control it? How can I do it better this time if you've
Mhm.
experienced it before? Or this may be something totally new to you, but still it comes down to, okay, so how do I resolve the situation, or how do I maintain or manage this situation? And it really goes back to taking your time, really evaluating what's happening around you.
Mhm.
And then again, even if it's out of your control, how can you still manage or maintain,
Mhm.
even though you don't ultimately control the
Yeah.
outcome or potentially? So,
Yeah.
remaining calm, keeping that open mind to the possibilities, a lot of things
Mhm.
we talked about in the past,
Yeah.
but it really comes down to, the more you know about yourself, you're self-aware, then you're going to be able to have more self-control, because you know your triggers, you know the
Mhm.
things that um, may upset you, or
Mhm.
may cause you to feel some kind of way. So the more you know about yourself, the more that you're evaluating your current situation, the better off you're going to
Yeah,
be.
because you're just learning all the time on
Right.
how far you can really push yourself. And in the
Yep.
military, they said it's not the body that breaks first, it's the mind, because your body will
Right.
do whatever you want it to do.
Right. Yep.
So, and that sometimes we lose sight of that, or don't understand that. But in stressful situations, your mind is what gets you through it. Your
Right.
mind is the thing that's saying you can lift that car, you can, push through and write that paper, you can, succeed and become better or more skilled.
Well, I think, as you said, I think that's why it's important that you again evaluate
Hmm.
the previous situations or things that you overcome or had to deal with that were similar to it.
Hmm.
Just again that reevaluation piece, and we've said this many times before that sometimes you have some of that stuff stored in your memory that you may
Yeah.
have to recall
Yeah.
and then revisit. Oh, I met a situation or had a situation similar to this, just need to remember how I overcame it, how I
Yeah.
fixed it, or how I was able to get through it.
And for
And
those new situations, maybe you don't have a point of reference that's similar
right,
to you. Then you have to dig even deeper and say, well, when I was in a situation X, positive or negative,
right,
what
yep,
did I do? A lot of people say sports is completely different from art, and I would disagree. I think art, language, entertainment, athletics, they're all the same thing. It's just the pair of glasses or the perspective that you put on because it's coming from the
right,
same spot in your brain. It's what are you doing to improve in that particular skill set? And
right,
so we can do everything, anything we want. It's just where do we go to find that piece, to
right,
to to
yep,
to get us there over that hump. I mean, how many people have changed careers mid-career and become successful again?
yep,
It's completely different, but they've done it, you know, over and over again. And it's not necessarily the field, it's the attitude, perspective, and the self-control that you have
absolutely, yep.
to build upon those positive behaviors. So
No, you're right. I mean, even like an athlete, a lot of times the best athlete is not always the best in their respective sport.
mhm,
It's those ones who put in the extra work and all that. I mean, you could have the guy given talents, but that's not enough. You have to have the mindset. You have to have that willingness, that self control. Like,
absolutely.
you hear about the basketball players that get in the gym 4 hours before the game and stay 2 hours afterwards because they have that self control. Everybody else is either stopping off, getting something to eat, or leaving immediately after the game. Yeah, that they again with their God given talent that may suffice at that time, but eventually, those skills are going to diminish. What do
Mhm.
you have left? And it's that control, that
Yeah.
discipline
Yeah.
to do what it takes to
I
stay at
like I
that
like what you
level.
said right there, that discipline, that
Yep,
self-discipline. I mean, that's a big piece of control because,
absolutely.
really control is just another behavior, like
Right,
discipline. It's just a repeated behavior that you keep mastering and remastering over and over again.
right.
So,
Well, Dave, it looks like we are very close to time. So, any final thoughts on our topic today?
I think the only thing I'm going to leave with our viewers and listeners is you're ultimately in control of everything about you.
Yeah,
To one degree or another, and you've got what it takes to get where you want. You just need to dig deep and find that spot to help get you there.
yep. I couldn't agree more. And I'll end with, and this is my tagline that I like to use, and it's take control of your life.
Mm-hmm.
As Dave said, you ultimately do control your life. It just may be that you have to maybe recall things or open your mind to the possibilities of things. So, with that, we do want to thank you for tuning in today's episode. We kind of talked a little bit about some of our fun things and not so
Mm-hmm.
fun things, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it was all relevant for this topic. But again, thanks for your viewership or listening to our episodes. Hopefully, you're gaining something from these podcasts. And if you feel like there's other things we could be talking about, please let us know. Our information is in the description. Or if you think there's someone who may benefit from tuning into these episodes. So thanks for everything you're doing. And with that, we want to just encourage you to continue being your not so ordinary you.